In the grand marketplace of human imagination, few places have captured the chaotic spirit of our species quite like eBay. A digital carnival where logic takes a nap, impulse takes the wheel, and someone, somewhere, is always trying to sell something that absolutely should not be sold. It's the only corner of civilization where a burnt piece of toast with a mysterious face can attract bidding wars, where empty cardboard boxes gain collector's item status, and where people have paid real money for ghosts trapped in jars, air allegedly breathed by celebrities, and potato chips shaped like emotionally unstable dinosaurs. The platform was built to connect buyers and sellers. Instead, it connected desire with delusion, creating a global stage where the value of an object depends less on usefulness and more on how confidently someone can call it rare. What makes eBay uniquely absurd isn't the weirdness of the items, it's the seriousness with which people list them. Descriptions read like archaeological reports for objects that absolutely do not deserve archaeological reports. Vintage aura, cosmic significance, possibly haunted, energetically charged by moonlight, and, my personal favorite, one of a kind, please don't ask how I got it. Meanwhile, buyers scroll through these digital artifacts not with skepticism, but with the quiet conviction that destiny sometimes arrives in the form of a used tissue or a half-eaten snack. There's no limit to human belief when a Buy Now button is involved. Today, we're opening a confidential catalog of the strangest, least necessary, most catastrophically ill-advised items ever exchanged for money on the world's most chaotic auction floor. Fasten your seatbelts. Logic is about to die a spectacular death. One seller listed a single cornflake shaped vaguely like the state of Illinois, treating breakfast cereal like a geopolitical artifact. Bidders fought over it with surprising enthusiasm, driving the price into the thousands before the auction was shut down for violating food policies. The seller insisted it possessed cultural significance, a phrase no cereal flake should ever have to carry. When geography meets breakfast, absurdity becomes continental. 2. A woman once sold a 10-year-old grilled cheese sandwich that supposedly bore the image of the Virgin Mary. The toast was petrified, mummified, and spiritually overpriced, yet it still sold for $28,000 to a casino hoping to draw crowds. Scientists examined photos and concluded the image was mostly burn patterns and wishful thinking. Faith may move mountains, but on eBay, it moves carbohydrates. 3. Someone successfully sold a jar of celebrity air, claiming it was captured near a red carpet entrance during a movie premiere. The listing described it as authentically breathed by at least 3 A-listers, as if oxygen could earn SAG credits. A buyer paid over $100 for the privilege of owning a container of perfectly ordinary atmosphere. When air becomes merchandise, capitalism has reached its final form. 4. A man auctioned off a ghost trapped inside an antique glass jar, complete with a dramatic backstory involving curses, hauntings, and ethereal containment. Thousands of viewers watched the listing as if expecting the jar to rattle on camera. The winning bidder later asked for a refund when no paranormal activity occurred. Buying ghosts is risky. Customer satisfaction is even riskier. 5. Someone sold an imaginary friend with a full biography, personality traits, and behavioral warnings. May disappear when bored. The listing included shipping instructions for an invisible entity and a promise that the buyer would feel its presence within 3 to 5 business days. Shockingly, multiple bidders competed for it. Imagination isn't free. On eBay, it's a commodity. 6. A seller once listed a half-eaten French fry that allegedly resembled Abraham Lincoln, turning greasy leftovers into presidential memorabilia. The description emphasized the distinguished facial profile, while ignoring the fact that it was, undeniably, a cold potato. The bid climbed into the hundreds before eBay intervened. History books rarely mention this part of Lincoln's legacy. 7. Someone posted a used tissue supposedly discarded by a celebrity during a meet and greet event. The auction included dramatic language about captured DNA and organic stardust, as though nasal debris qualified as sacred relics. It sold for more money than most people spend on actual health care. Fame never dies, it just gets sneezed into Kleenex. 8. A seller attempted to auction off a portal to another dimension, which was actually a cardboard box with marker drawings and ominous instructions not to open it during storms. The buyers asked serious questions about interdimensional safety, and the price climbed until eBay removed the listing for unverifiable supernatural claims. The box returned to being a box, but the myth survived longer than the auction. 9. A man sold a single potato that he claimed was psychically attuned and capable of bringing good luck to its owner. He posted pictures of the potato in dramatic lighting, as if it were auditioning for a documentary about tubers with secret destinies. Dozens of bidders participated, apparently unwilling to risk bad luck by ignoring it. Superstition thrives when agriculture gets theatrical. 10. Someone sold a haunted rubber duck, insisting it moved on its own and whispered at night. The listing included shaky video footage and very serious warnings about restless bathtub spirits. A buyer paid triple the starting price because their bathroom needed more character. When your rubber duck has a paranormal resume, bathing becomes optional. 11. A seller listed a Cheeto shaped like a sitting lion, treating it with the reverence normally reserved for museum artifacts. The listing featured dramatic angles, a velvet backdrop, and the claim that it embodied raw feline majesty. Bidders took it seriously, pushing the price into the thousands for a snack that would crumble if someone breathed too hard. When junk food becomes royalty, civilization is rebranding itself. 12. Someone auctioned a cornflake shaped like Barack Obama's profile, which quickly went viral and triggered an online bidding frenzy. The seller insisted it was a once-in-history breakfast event, as though destiny had whispered into a cereal box. The price skyrocketed until eBay froze the auction for violating edible goods rules. Even cereal has political drama now. 13. A man sold a jar of New Zealand ghost fog, claiming it was collected during a paranormal investigation in the mountains. The jar contained exactly what fog becomes after being trapped. Nothing. Yet the listing gained traction because buyers feared missing out on limited edition supernatural condensation. The air inside was ordinary. The marketing was legendary. 14. Someone listed a single Dorito chip, said to be the most perfectly triangular chip ever discovered. Photos showed a chip resting on a pillow like it was a royal newborn. Bidders treated it like a mathematical miracle, until a user pointed out all chips are triangles by design. Logic arrived too late to stop the bidding war. 15. A seller once offered a rock that looked exactly like a shoe, despite looking nothing like a shoe unless you squinted, tilted your head, and abandoned realism. The listing promised geological footwear with timeless fashion potential. Someone actually bought it, perhaps hoping they could complete the pair. Even rocks have a resale market now. 16. A woman auctioned off a lucky lint ball discovered in her dryer, claiming it granted her 3 weeks of unusually good parking spots. She insisted the lint radiated positive energy, which is not a quality typically associated with household debris. A buyer paid over $50, likely hoping the magic extended beyond parking. Laundry has never been so mystical. 17. One particularly ambitious seller tried auctioning a ghost hunter's EMF meter that still contained trapped spirit energy, despite the meter being visibly out of batteries. The description framed the dead power supply as paranormal exhaustion. A bidder bought it, leaving a review that simply read, "Still waiting for ghosts." Expectations are the true haunted item. 18. A man sold a bright yellow potato chip he believed resembled Pikachu, complete with pointed ears and a determined crunch. Fans of the franchise battled nearly as fiercely as the characters themselves to win it. The chip eventually sold for hundreds before anyone asked, what happens when a collector gets hungry? Nostalgia is powerful and apparently edible. 19. Someone auctioned off a slice of toast burned with a pattern they insisted was a message from aliens, though the pattern simply looked like the toaster had issues. The listing passionately described it as intergalactic communication through carbohydrates. It sold to someone who wanted to decode the signals. Breakfast has entered the space race. 20. A seller offered a used bandage, claiming it had belonged to a famous YouTuber during a live stream injury. The bandage looked like every bandage ever made, but that didn't stop fans from bidding with frantic devotion. eBay removed the listing before things reached biohazard levels. Fame turns trash into treasure, and then into violations of company policy. 21. A seller once listed a time traveler's starter kit, which consisted of a broken wristwatch, a compass that didn't point north, and a handwritten note that said, "Good luck." The listing insisted all items were authentically pre-owned by someone outside our timeline. Dozens of bidders joined in, apparently willing to overlook minor issues, like physics. When junk becomes temporal equipment, imagination outruns reality at light speed. 22. Someone auctioned a bag of celebrity breath, claiming they captured it by waving a jar in front of a singer during a concert. The description presented it as a unique molecular souvenir, ignoring that air is a shared, non-exclusive resource. One fan paid dearly for the privilege of owning unverified oxygen. The atmosphere has never been so monetized. 23. A man tried selling the soul of his ex-boyfriend, packaged inside a glass vial labeled, "Handle with emotional caution." He emphasized that the buyer would inherit unfinished karmic obligations. eBay removed the listing for violating policies against selling intangible human components. The breakup, apparently, needed no further commentary. 24. Someone listed a single stick they claimed their dog used to achieve spiritual awakening during fetch. The listing described the stick as nature's wisdom encoded in wood. Buyers found the story wholesome enough to bid, proving that sentimentality sells even when the product is literally yard debris. Dogs remain undefeated in marketing. 25. A seller attempted to auction off a haunted couch cushion that allegedly moaned at night and resisted people sitting on it. The pictures showed a perfectly ordinary cushion posed dramatically under dim lighting. A curious buyer eventually purchased it, later reporting that the only thing it haunted was their lower back. Upholstery horror remains niche. 26. Someone posted a piece of the moon found in their driveway, which turned out to be an asphalt chip kicked loose by a car tire. The seller insisted cosmic destiny guided it to Earth specifically for them. Bidders played along, driving the price higher until a geologist ruined the fun. Space exploration is cheaper on eBay, if less accurate. 27. A man auctioned off his invisible art collection, which consisted of blank walls and handwritten certificates of authenticity. He argued that true art exists beyond physical form, a philosophy surprisingly compatible with receiving money for nothing. A buyer actually invested, perhaps appreciating the zero-maintenance aspect. Minimalism has rarely been this literal. 28. Someone tried selling a jar of bathwater used by their goldfish, framing it as aquatic essence charged with the wisdom of a long-lived pet. The fish looked unimpressed in the background of the photos. Surprisingly, there were multiple bidders, each hoping for enlightenment via diluted tank residue. Humanity continues to redefine the word collectible. 29. A seller once listed snow from their backyard during a rare winter, promising to ship it overnight before it melted. Buyers ignored the glaring logistical issue that snow does not survive transit without industrial freezing. The listing was eventually pulled, but not before dozens of people expressed disappointment. Some ideas evaporate before they even begin. 30. Someone auctioned off a lucky toenail clipping, claiming it had helped them win scratch-off tickets. The listing included a very zoomed-in photograph no one asked for. While eBay swiftly removed it, several bidders had already expressed interest. Luck, it seems, has no aesthetic standards. 31. A seller once tried to auction off a single Brussels sprout they claimed had absorbed the energy of 1,000 Christmas dinners. The sprout was wrinkled, lonely, and visibly traumatized by years of refrigerational exile. Yet bidders treated it like a mystical relic from the culinary underworld. When vegetables achieve celebrity status, nutrition has clearly left the chat. 32. Someone listed a partially melted Barbie doll described as a postmodern sculpture exploring identity decay. The doll looked like it had survived a microwave accident, but the seller maintained it was a commentary on societal pressures. A collector bought it for far more than intact dolls usually cost. Art is 10% creativity and 90% confidence. 33. A man auctioned off his emotional support rock, which he claimed had guided him through several breakups by being a good listener. The rock, unsurprisingly, had no comment. Buyers found the listing relatable in a strangely geological way. When your therapist is sedimentary, it may be time for reflection. 34. A woman posted a peanut that she believed looked exactly like Tom Hanks, complete with a tiny ridge she identified as the Forrest Gump smile. The resemblance was questionable at best, existential at worst, but the listing went viral anyway. Several fans bid purely for the novelty. Celebrity likeness apparently has no species limit. 35. Someone sold a rusty spoon they claimed was historically significant because it had once been used to stir a cup of tea during a breakup. The description framed it as a symbol of heartbreak, healing, and questionable hygiene. Regardless, a buyer snapped it up like a relic from a romance museum. Nostalgia is cheap. Rusty metal isn't. 36. A seller tried offering cursed macaroni, a single noodle allegedly responsible for a week of bad luck. The listing warned buyers not to use it in cooking unless they wished to summon chaos. Multiple bidders competed to own it, proving that curiosity outruns superstition every time. Pasta rarely demands moral consideration. 37. A man auctioned his failed attempt at baking, an amorphous loaf of bread he called the gluten monster. Its shape defied geometry, gravity, and common sense, but the seller insisted it had character. A collector of culinary disasters purchased it with pride. Failure has never been so marketable. 38. Someone tried selling a used bar of soap, shaped accidentally into a frowning face after months of wear. The seller insisted it captured the melancholy of daily hygiene. The soap sold immediately, presumably to someone who appreciated existential sadness with their cleansing routine. Even bathroom supplies crave emotional depth. 39. A woman listed a Ziploc bag filled with celebrity concert dust, which she claimed had collected on her shoes during a stadium finale. She described it as the physical memory of screaming joy. A buyer paid real money for debris swept from a parking lot. Sentimentality is the best sales tactic nature ever invented. 40. A man auctioned off a mysterious stain on a piece of drywall he removed from his basement, convinced it resembled a map to hidden treasure. The stain looked like every other watermark in the world, but the story was irresistible. Bidders treated it like a cryptic puzzle left by fate. Mold has never enjoyed such prestige. 41. A seller once listed a jar of pre-owned darkness, claiming they had captured pure night from inside their closet. The jar, of course, contained nothing but the reflected confusion of anyone who looked at it. The listing promised reusable darkness for meditation or ambiance, as if shadows were a consumable resource. A bidder actually bought it, proving that emptiness sells better than some products with actual ingredients. 42. Someone auctioned a piece of toast that allegedly bore the image of Elvis Presley. The though it looked more like a smudged fingerprint with sideburns. Fans didn't care. The bidding war escalated as though the king himself had reincarnated in burnt carbohydrates. The winner vowed to preserve it in a display case, ensuring its legacy as a celebrity crumb. Fame travels in strange vessels. 43. A woman tried selling a haunted snow globe that she claimed whispered faint messages when shaken. The video demonstration featured no whispers, just normal sloshing water, but she maintained the globe had emotional intelligence. A buyer purchased it out of curiosity, later confirming it remained stubbornly silent. Most hauntings are louder than hydration. 44. A man offered his childhood imaginary friend for sale, complete with a backstory, abilities, and a certificate of authenticity written in crayon. The listing promised the buyer would inherit all past memories, which raised practical and metaphysical questions no one answered. Several bidders jumped in because who wouldn't want secondhand hallucinations? Childhood nostalgia is big business. 45. Someone tried auctioning an entire abandoned town in the California desert. A handful of structures, no utilities, and a troubling number of rattlesnakes. The listing described it as a perfect investment for visionaries with courage and sunscreen. And shockingly, bidders took it seriously, driving the price higher until legal authorities shut the auction down. Nothing proves human optimism like trying to buy a ghost town off the internet. So far, we've wandered through a digital marketplace where value is not determined by logic, usefulness, or even basic reality, but by the sheer confidence with which someone lists an item and the even greater confidence with which someone else buys it. So far, we've seen scientists weaponize dolphins, governments panic over clouds, and people who genuinely believed the Earth was allergic to satellites. Somewhere out there, common sense is screaming into a pillow. Across these 45 auctions, a portrait of humanity emerges, one defined less by innovation and more by a wonderfully chaotic cocktail of boredom, imagination, and the irresistible urge to assign meaning to objects that absolutely do not deserve it. We've witnessed the sale of haunted rubber ducks, potatoes allegedly infused with psychic energy, jars of celebrity air, and toast embossed with cosmic prophecies. Each listing wasn't just a product, it was a miniature universe of misplaced faith, where burnt snacks became religious artifacts and bits of debris ascended into spiritual relics. But what's most intriguing isn't the absurdity of the items, it's the sincerity of the sellers and the enthusiasm of the buyers. This isn't a marketplace. It's a global stage for belief systems we didn't know we had. It's a reminder that the internet didn't just democratize commerce, it democratized imagination. Somewhere between ghost jars and emotionally intelligent snow globes, eBay transformed into a museum of collective irrationality, curated by millions who never intended to be curators. These artifacts tell a story not of stupidity, but of humanity's endless capacity to dream, exaggerate, misinterpret, and monetize the void. And if nothing else, they prove that one person's trash is another person's treasure, especially if the treasure is haunted, shaped like a celebrity, or packaged in a jar labeled mystical. Maybe stupidity isn't the opposite of intelligence. It's what happens when intelligence goes unsupervised. And scrolling through these auctions, you begin to understand just how unsupervised our collective intelligence can become when the internet provides infinite shelves, zero gatekeepers, and a global crowd willing to suspend disbelief long enough to place a bid. eBay wasn't designed to be a museum of human irrationality, but somewhere between the haunted household items, spiritually awakened vegetables, and celebrity-adjacent oxygen, it became exactly that. It's a living archive of the things people create, covet, and convince themselves are valuable. Not because they are, but because someone typed a confident description beside a blurry photo. There's something strangely poetic about this chaos. We live in a world overflowing with information, yet we treat a potato chip shaped like a cartoon character as if it were a historic discovery. We cling to lint balls for luck, trust jars of nothing as if they hold cosmic secrets, and spend money on invisible companions who ship free because they weigh nothing. Each of these purchases is a love letter to our own imaginations, messy, impulsive, and gloriously unhinged. And perhaps that's why these stories resonate. They reveal a truth we rarely admit out loud. We are not rational creatures making logical decisions. We are instinct-driven dreamers trying to buy meaning wherever we can find it. We always reach for the impossible, but sometimes it's because no one stopped to ask if we should. The marketplace doesn't judge, it merely reflects, amplifying every whim, fantasy, superstition, and late-night impulse into a searchable listing. Some people shop for essentials, others shop for existential entertainment. And somewhere in that gap, eBay found its soul, or at least the closest thing to one that can be sold, shipped, and insured. This has been the Absurdist Files, where logic takes a vacation and reality writes the jokes.